but he just was an old guy, you know?
Well, the funny thing is that I remember years ago in TV Guide they had talked about, they said Patrick Stewart, the bald Brit. Well, next week you had some listeners, or actually viewers of TV Guide, saying, well, wait a minute. He called Patrick Stewart the bald Brit. How come he didn't call Bill Shatner the toupeed Canadian? At least Patrick Stewart's not ashamed to admit he's bald.
No, I mean, yeah, he went on natural. And I saw him in older movie before he lost his hair.
Wow.
Excalibur, which is a great movie. And he's one of the knights. And when King Arthur, and he says he's convinced he is the rightful king. And he, right in the moat of the castle, he gets on his knees to be knighted by King Arthur. He says, "Knight me, you know." And I said, "That's Patrick's. That's Captain Picard."
Are you sure that wasn't a toupee he was wearing?
It might have been, for all I know. I was heartbroken to find out that Sean Connery always wore a toupee. I said, even when he was in Goldfinger. Even when he was in Goldfinger.
Wow.
Now, I saw him in Darby O'Gill and the Little People, and that looks like real hair. He was very young then.
Yeah,
he had a big pompadour, you know. And
even the mid-'80s, remember he was on the Group W cable guide that they used to put out every month. And he wasn't completely bald. It was thin on top. But, you know, of course, it looked much better than the toupee.
That's a good way to leave it, you know.
It was much better than the toupee that he had. And then he also had a mustache as well, because I remember seeing the year before when he did Never Say Never Again, which was his final Bond film. Right. He was obviously wearing a toupee there.
He didn't want to. On that movie, he said, "Boy, he's older now. He's an older 007, you know." No, Sean, we want the toupee. Jill St. John is Kim Basinger was his leading lady. That's weird. Sean Connery's wife picks out Kim Basinger to be his leading lady in that movie. And I said, boy, my wife wouldn't. She'd pick Kate Smith. Nobody knows who Kate Smith is, but
God bless America.
God bless America.
That's right.
I still think they play her at Yankee Stadium.
I think they do, yeah.
They do.
Until Derek Jeter retired, they had Bob Shepard announcing Jeter at the plate every time, even after Shepard had died.
Okay. Are we recording? Are we doing this?
Yeah, we're recording right now. But
we have to get back to Debbie Boone, because I don't want to leave him.
Yeah, exactly.
Although you can pause it and I can run in and check.
Well,
he's okay for a while.
Well, last week we were talking with Jay Gardner, and we left off at Debbie Boone, You Light Up My Life. You know, it's funny that I never really heard that song until watching an episode of The Jeffersons, where Florence the housekeeper was wanting to record an album. And so she went to this company that said, yeah, you got a great voice. You sound like Aretha Franklin. And then she overhears them saying, she doesn't sound like Aretha Franklin. Probably sounds more like Benjamin Franklin. So George decides to go in and give them a run for their money to see if they're really con artists or not. So he's told, George, you got a great singing voice. Why don't you sing Light Up My Life? And George's like, and so you light up my life. You give me strength. You light up my life.
Well, I think it's better than Debbie Boone's version.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed that. And then about, 10 years later on cable, they had a Sherman Hemsley entertainment special. And he was singing, doing stand-up comedy. Later, when he died, I found out that he was a big fan of jazz, R&B, and progressive rock and roll, which I thought was a pretty interesting combination of things. Yeah, progressive rock and roll, I think about like freeform FM underground rock formats, which is completely the antithesis of Debbie Boone.
Right, and except I did that, what they called or AOR, Anywhere on the Road. And no, they had playlists for you. You played it off of an album, though, but they had certain cuts. These are okay. And they meant business, too. I mean, they put, like, labels over the, like nobody's playing that cut,
Wow.
Well, they had it, but what people don't realize is they maybe gave you a little bit of choice, but only certain cuts. And only if it wasn't played in the last 10 hours or something. So, you had parameters. It wasn't just, hey, man, I think I'll reach over here and play this tune. No, you aren't just reaching over and playing that tune. They're telling you to play it.
Exactly.
And they also wanted you to sound like this.
So how did you?
I
what did you
can't
drink
remember
or
the frequency, but
was
it
there
was
anything you ate or drank?
Orlando's best rock.
Was there anything you ate or drank in order to kind of put yourself in the mood to sound like that?
No, but that's what they wanted you to act like. I mean, no way. I don't know if somebody did, smoke something before that, but I couldn't operate, like that.
The one who's perfected is Jim Ladd, 95.5 KLOS. Lord have mercy.
Oh, I mean, and when I was in the same building, KMET, famous in LA, 94.7. It's now the Wave. So I would walk in, like Deborah Howell would be on in the afternoon. I'd walk in there, and I said, I just have to do something. And I would punch her microphone button. I'd go, 94.7, KMET. And she said, did you do it? No, I said, I held down the cough button. And you really do it. I just wanted to do it for real.
Well,
because we all listened to KMET back in the day,
It's funny, those little tricks you play on people in radio. When I was interning for Oldies 93 KCBS FM back in 1992, 93, at Columbia Square, there was that studio, the Master Control, that looked right into another studio, which was the backup studio. And so I was in the backup studio doing a mock show, trying to put together an air check and send it off to Bakersfield or some rinky-dink town like Barstow or Baker. And
hey, I played Bakersfield. I beg your pardon. What was that station? I wasn't there long because I got a call from KFRE in Fresno, which was a 50,000 watt clear channel. KAFY.
Oh, yeah.
In Bakersfield. I was on there for about 6 months, and as I said, they were offering me a bunch more money up, and so.
There you go.
But anyway,
So Machine Gun Kelly was on the air, and I'm doing the show, and he's like waving his hands like this. I'm like, what's going on here? I was like, and he pushes the intercom button. You're on the air. It's like, oh no! And so I'm like, hello everybody, this is Josh Donovan. Good to finally be on the air. What do you think so far? And I'm like panicking for like a minute. Then he finally presses the intercom. Just kidding, you're not really on the air. I'm like, whew.
Well, did you have to play Debbie Boone? No.
No.
I can still see that. We back in that at that time we were actually playing the records on a turntable. She was on Warner Brothers. I can still see it on the turntable in my mind's eye. And her dad was on, I think, Columbia. So I thought that was unusual that she'd be on a different label than her dad, because I figured Dad probably twisted the arms of, whoever he knows over there. But I don't know. She was on her own label, Warner Brothers, whatever.
Yeah, she did records with her sisters as well. So it wasn't just a solo.
Well, that was the only one that I had to play.
Yeah, well, that was her only top 40 hit in mainstream. I'm sure she had some regional hits like a lot of artists did that were one-hit wonders nationwide, but then they had maybe a few hits regionally. I'm not sure. I can't think of one off the top of my head. But then she did Christian music for a couple years as well.
Well, and I think the whole family did, because Pat Boone was very much. And although, I remember having to play. I mean, they weren't currents, thank God, when I was playing them. But I did play them as oldies. Love Letters in the Sand.
Oh, yeah.
On a day like Yeah, he was kind of like a Bing Crosby, kind of a crooner guy,
Hi, folks. Pat Boone here, and I want to tell you about Pat Boone's All-American Meats. Hey, buy gold, everybody. And, check out my metal album right here, No More Mr. Nice Guy, In a Metal Mood. Take me down to that paradise here where the grass is green and the girls are pretty. I want you to take me home. Yeah, yeah.
It's almost like William Shatner doing, what did he do?
Was it? No.
Was it,
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, and he just kind of spoke it.
Yeah, it was spoken word, and because
it wasn't MacArthur Park, was it?
No, it wasn't MacArthur Park.
Because Richard Harris, I saw him at a restaurant up on Sunset one time, and he had had a few drinks, and they wouldn't give him the keys to his car, the valet, and he started putting up a big fuss. And I said, give him his keys, otherwise he's going to start singing MacArthur Park. And we're all going to cry. Someone left the cake out in the rain.
I don't think that I could make it because it took so long to
How
make
some
it.
of these things ever get big, I don't know.
You know, it's
It's a mystery. It's a mystery.
There's a book called The 50 Worst Songs, The 50 Worst Albums, and the Worst Artists, and that's one of them. And the comment, it's a comedy book pretty much. He's like, if he's comparing his failed relationship to a cake melting in the rain, is it any wonder she didn't leave sooner?
Yeah, I mean, he's like, and you know, the whole, and then Donna Summer redid it in the 70s, although she kind of made it a dance tune. So
Yeah.
it wasn't that bad, you know, a little disco beat to it. She also made it 3.5 minutes long, which helped a lot, because the Richard Harris version was about 18 minutes long, at least in my memory it was.
That was a very long song.
Of course, you know, in those olden days, you were looking for long tunes. American Pie by Don McLean, you could always count on if you had to run to the men's room.
Oh, yeah, and then the 17-minute version of In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida.
I've played that once on the air, and I couldn't believe I actually got it. It was classic rock, and it was a nighttime shift, so they had a lot of... And I said, wow, the long version. And then I hadn't heard it in a long time, and I said, did we really listen to this back in the day? To all of this version, you know?
Well, people who loved In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida during, you know, their hippie parties or whatever, were like, shh, quiet, it's the drum solo. And this was like this 5-minute long drum solo.
It just goes on and on and on. I mean, it might be good if they're doing it live, because then you're watching the drummer and he's going to town. I saw Edgar Winter group live. It was a concert put on by Aero 93. Pat Benatar was the lead, but we had Bachman turn overdrive, and you know, had Randy Bachman, and I mean, you know,
wow.
And then the Edgar Winter group, and they did Frankenstein, long version, but live it's fantastic. I mean, they go on and on with the, but I mean, it's fun to see it live like that. It'll knock your socks off.
I think the biggest live version, or the longest live version of a song I can recall somebody playing, when I was interning for Oldies Night 3, Danny Martinez, the afternoon DJ who took over after MG Kelly left, said that he used to like to end his shift with a live 22-minute version of Get Ready by Rare Earth, which the first 5 minutes they're pretty much tuning their instruments, doing sound checks, etc. And the reason why when you listen to the edited version that was released as a single, they start cheering is because initially the audience was booing because they were getting impatient, saying, come on with the music already.
Well, you know, and in in your course of your radio, you have to play them all. If they are, you know, whether you like them or not, you do play them.
And funny you mentioned that, because I remember when I was overnights on 95.9 The Fish, it was Christmas time. We were playing both Christian as well as mainstream Christmas tunes.
Okay, yeah.
One of the Christmas tunes we played, I'd never even heard of it until I was on the station, was Gayla Peavy's I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And our afternoon DJ, Big Wave Dave, hated that song, and he was proud to admit they hated the song. He even parodied "Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer" with "The hippo got run over by a reindeer," and so a bunch of listeners sent him in these stuffed animal hippos, and so he's got them in his production room. That's why he's got hippopotamuses in it, or several of these hippos in his, or stuffed hippos in his room, his studios, because they were listener gifts as a joke because he hated that song so much.
No, I back when that song came out, I was the music director. This was back in Florida. And I believe the old guy that recorded it brought it in. He was going around, and here's my Christmas. And I put it on and I said, you got to be kidding. This will never, and then what do you know? Became a big deal. But again, it was a novelty thing. People jumped on the novelty. There was when I was a little kid, there was one, Christmas was big on novelty too.
Oh, yeah.
Carolyn Binkley, all I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth. I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth. with 2 front teeth.
Didn't Spike Jones and the Sea Slickers also do that
I think
song as
they
well?
may have.
Because every New Year, I love to play the Happy New Year song, which pokes fun at the New Year's resolution. I love to post on my Facebook wall by Spike Jones and the Sea Slickers. I mean, just a funny
Well, you got
artist.
Bob and what were those guys with the funny Christmas tunes?
Oh yeah, Bob and Doug McKenzie.
Yeah.
Their parody of the 12 Days of Christmas. On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a beer.
Yeah, right, exactly.
When I first heard that, I just
and
busted
instead of
laughing.
God rest ye merry gentlemen, I'm walking around in women's underwear. I mean, it's just absolute crazy stuff. And of course, nobody plays them.
No.
I mean, but people, at home, hey, you listen to this,
Well, I remember the another one was "I'm Getting Nothing for Christmas" by Barry Gordon.
Yeah.
Who now is the voice of the Nesquik Bunny. He's also lay rabbi on the side.
Ah, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So,
Well.
interesting trivia.
Yeah.
And then, what was another one? Well, Christmas Don't Be Late by the Chipmunks. That's a novelty created by Ross.
Oh yeah, you want to?
Bagdasarian.
And when I was a kid, that was a #1 tune. They went all the way to #1, I think, because I don't remember it when I was a little kid. I remember the song, but later I said, "Wow, that one went all the way to #1." All I want is a hula hoop,
And the thing is that I think Ross did 2 of the voices, and then his wife did the other voice.
Oh, okay.
But then when Ross Bagdasarian died, which was about a month before I was born, the Chipmunks pretty much went cold. And but then in 1979, Ross Jr., who sounded just like his dad vocal-wise, brought the Chipmunks back, and they resurrected on Saturday mornings on NBC.
And now they've got another big feature film movie coming out.
Yeah.
I guess it's a Western theme. They've got looking like, walking down the street with a hat and these 2 chipmunks. And, I mean, a whole new generation for the Alvin and what was it?
Alvin, Simon, and Theodore.
Simon and Theodore, yeah.
And then, of course, Alan Sherman's 12 Days of Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, that's just...
Well, one of my favorites, it still does get airplay, is if you're doing a summertime theme, hello, mother, hello, father, here I am, Camp Granada, camp is very entertaining. They say we'll have fun if it stops raining. And the Joe Ivy got the poison ivy. I don't know. It's very funny.
Well, his son Robert, who goes by Bobby, but he is billed as Robert Sherman, helped produce several Goodson timing game shows back in the day, including Password Plus and Blockbusters. So because Alan Sherman got his start in game shows as well, but he went into being a big novelty artist. And in fact, he had the last last record to go to #1 among novelty records until Weird Al Yankovic a couple years ago put out an album which included a parody of Robin Thicke's song Blurred Lines. It was called Word Crimes. And Word Crimes is absolutely hilarious, just talking about how people misuse words. If you could care less, that means you do care.
It's so funny because of all the Weird Al Yankovic satire or satirical songs. The only one that I've actually played on the radio that we play, I mean, it became, I don't know if it ever made it on the charts, but it might have, was his Michael Jackson's Beat It, where he did Eat It.
Yeah, Eat It.
And we used to play that. And then flash forward 10 years, I did a movie with him, UHF. And he was such a mild man, a very quiet man. He's not like he's not on. And because I kind of wanted to talk to him about some of the songs, but he just didn't seem approachable.
Well, that's where we're going to leave off this time. Next time we'll be talking about UHF, your experience in that movie, as well as a little bit more about Weird Al Yankovic and some of his most recent tunes and past tunes. And will there be a UHF Part 2? Well, we'll find out next time.
Ooh, I better let my agent know.